Okay, welcome everybody to the February Board of Directors meeting. If those in the audience could please silence their phones, we'll call the meeting to order. If we could, let's start with board members and staff just indicating their names, who they are, please.
Mike Odell, ALC.
Len Alcantara, Director.
Joanne Ellison, Director.
Tom Swikowski, President.
Steve Belacqua, Vice President.
Donna Gruninger, Director.
Marty O'Shea, Ad hoc. Close it up.
Leslie Van Hoff, Executive Assistant.
Vivian Timian, General Manager, and we've got TJ Ward over there handling the sound system for us today.
Lisa Kojal, the Assistant Controller.
John Reed, Director of Operations.
John LaBarre, Property and Roads, Vice Chair.
Felice Nast, Creative Director.
Tim Mahana, Property and Roads, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Could we have a motion to approve the January 30th minutes? Second, someone?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay? No, okay. President's report. No real report today, but I would like to just give a special thanks and recognition, one to Lisa Kozel, who's basically acting as our controller right now, and she's doing an excellent job and taking on a lot of extra responsibility. So thank you so much, Lisa. And also thanks to John Reed, the Property and Roads, and the subcommittee for the new building on the 12th, I think it was, in February. You had the town hall. Great job, great presentation, and appreciate that. Thank you. And also to Charlotte James and Special Events. Last night we went to the wine dinner in the Vistas, and it was very, very well done. And that group plans, dinners to bus trips, and they do a lot for our community and make it a very nice place to live. So that's for the President's report. GM.
Oh, thank you, Tom. This is Vivian Timian. I want to start out with talking about golf. It was a tough January due to the weather, and Mike's working on that. You're doing better lately. You're doing much better. So multiple shotgun starts due to the frost delays, and you'll see that in the financials. We really were down on daily fees due to that. February demo days, though, the sales during the demo days in January were very popular, and you're going to see that in the golf shop, so really well there. And they have already started working on the golf shop refresh. It's scheduled right now from August 4th to October 10th. They have a lot of team meetings that are in progress and initiating contracts and ordering materials for that project. So that's been kind of a focal point for golf. In F&B, they had a strong revenue start to the year. They had 261 revenue for January, and they're anticipating they'll be well over 280,000 for February. That we're on track for a record February. It's about 40,000 higher than it was last year at this time. We did multiple library dinners. Were scheduled in January and February, so which also brought up the financial picture. A lot of events, as Tom alluded to, but the number one thing is trivia is back, and it was sold out on February 24th, and it is in fact sold out again on March 24th. So a lot of people enjoying their trivia, and Charlotte's team is at the helm, providing the questions and the answers and identifying the winners. The Left Coast and wine dinner, as he said, was a success last night. It was sold out. And they've got a lot of things going on in March. The Country Western Night has been sold out. And then 2 chef's tables, March 12th and 26th. A Mexican buffet on March 19th. St. Patty's Day, which is really very popular, so if you haven't made your reservations, I would strongly suggest that you make your reservations for that event. And if you don't want to come in, you can get a corned beef dinner to go, so do it either way. There is a wedding actually scheduled on March 22nd. We don't do a lot of weddings here at Saddlebrook, but we have one. And it's going to be late afternoon. It's going to be in the Roadrunner Grill, so it won't affect the upstairs dining hours, but just kind of wanted to highlight the fact that we have picked up that event as well. And of course, the golf people with their multiple golf events are supporting food and beverage throughout the month. So again, just a lot of items coming in, and they're doing very, very well financially. And don't forget their regular schedule: Thursday burger nights, Friday fish fry, and Saturday the home style specials. And with the home style specials, you can get a half price bottle of wine. So, I encourage you to come in on Saturday and enjoy that time as well. In terms of administration, we've got a lot of things going on. Lisa and the accounting team have been working on the audit. The audit team will be on site the week of March 3rd. The first 2 days they work from their office, and then they'll be on site Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. From a recruiting standpoint, we're looking for a common area landscaper and a couple of patrol officers. And we have been meeting with other HOAs to review the North Star performance implementation. We've been talking a lot about club software and looking for software that's really more member service driven. And we've identified North Star as a possibility for that. In fact, we were supposed to do a presentation today, but we've put it off for a month because we did talk to the members over at Heritage Highlands at Dove Mountain and HOA2, as well as Rancho Vistoso on their implementations, and they have brought up some considerations and some complications, which has been very helpful to us because we now see the pitfalls that could be there, and we can hopefully avoid the problems that they've had in the implementation. So that's really good. But North Star does bring a lot of good applications for us. I mean, they have a phone app for the residents to be able to make reservations and may be able to make on the phone app, as well as put in orders, and also some excellent member services in terms of being able to make reservations and so we get away from the ticketed events, because basically you'd be able to buy a ticket online. So there's a lot of good things about North Star. Again, probably we'll see something more about this in March. Home resales. We sold 8 homes in January, and the February month is wrong, and we're actually up to 15 homes resales. So that puts us as 23 for the year versus a budget of 20. So home resales are starting to tick up a little bit, so that we're really excited about that. On Operations Center, the Creative Arts and Wellness Center, we did have a town hall, and it went very well. John and his team did an excellent job presenting everything and getting the information out there. We are evaluating comments from the members to provide to the architectural and engineering team to incorporate those comments. We are reviewing a change order possibility to Comcast from Orbital in the fitness center. We're looking at, they're going to be generating some information for us so we can take a look at how difficult that would be, but we have had some issues with Orbital handling the multiple machines that are on televisions over there, and so this may be a possible solution to that. You ordered the assisted opening doors for the Roadrunner Grill restroom areas. This has been a request for quite a while out there. These are the 2 restrooms that are located to the south of the Roadrunner Grill, and we're going to put push-button handicap doors on there to make it a little bit easier to access those areas. John's reviewing some new janitorial contractors. There's a possible cost decrease in that, but it wasn't the cost that he went after. It was more of a performance issue, so he is looking at the possibility of switching that over. And the most important thing, or one of the most important things, the board did approve an action in lieu of $29,000 for the Creative Arts and Wellness Center for the expansion drawings. As you recall, the county allowed us to go up to 8,000 square feet, and so we asked them to expand those drawings if they could, and so that approval for those new drawings was approved on February the 7th. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to our financial standpoint, our Assistant Controller, Lisa Kojal. And Lisa, you just push that, and that'll make the slides go forward.
Okay. For January, the revenues were a little lower than budget by $23,000, but that's mainly due to the home resales not meeting the target of 10. We had 8 versus the 10, and we were expecting royalty income to come in January, which actually came in February. So that accounts for the lower than budget expected numbers. Overall, our expenses were better than budget. That being the roads of $42,000, we have not incurred that expense yet, and that accounts for the better outcome for January. Golf revenues, like Vivian said, the weather wasn't cooperative, so our daily fees were down. So that accounted for not meeting our budget for January, but sales were better than expected with what they had going on. So overall, the net loss or budget was lower by only $2,000, but that should improve with the better weather and the increased playing. Food and beverage. They had pretty strong sales, but still a little lower than budget. But their overall operating expenses were down, so they're controlling their costs better. So which left them actually better than budget by 13 as far as January's operations. So they're watching, their costs, and we're trying to keep everything in sight. So overall, we were better than budget by $51,000 net income. So we're doing well, but things will keep going. Here's our cash balances for January. As far as replacement reserve spending, wasn't a lot of activity. Mainly were some ongoing costs on projects. We had some common area maintenance work on the drainage. We got some tables in for the Agave Grill, but not all of them. Deposits on the new fitness equipment, that was approved. The only final project was a refrigerator for the back bar on Agave Lounge for $6,200. So total spending was $36,604. Under the capital improvements, there was just an ongoing payment on the project for the building renovations. Any questions?
Okay, with that, we will move to the consent. Is that right?
Yes.
There we go. Watch a movie, too. Kind of like watching a movie idea. We lost our picture. So... You got it? There you go. Thank you.
Okay, we have consent items to approve Sandra Chester and Glenn Fenstermacher as members of the Finance Committee, to approve Beth Crowley as the Rules, Compliance and Covenants Committee Vice Chair, and to approve a revised 2025 Board of Directors calendar. The only change being that we're going to change the budget finance meeting to
The 7th of October.
7th of
Tuesday,
October.
yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Second.
All those in favor, aye? Aye. Those opposed, nay? Okay.
Okay, projects in process. I guess we're going to start with the blue side, so that's John Reed.
Hello, everybody, it's John Reed. Agave Dining, we did receive the tables for the back area there, the counter height tables. We're still waiting on the bar stools. They are custom being made for us. I'm being told probably mid of March is when we'll get those. Once we get those, we'll probably order some additional stuff. I want to make sure we get good delivery date on those tables. The golf shop interior design, we're very comfortable with the interior design as it sits right now. We've already initiated some of the purchase orders to all the providers and starting to set up some meetings. I'm sure Mike's got more on that later. Creative Arts and Wellness, as you heard, it went really well. We have some other meetings going on next week even, and on beyond that. We got one on Tuesday, every Tuesday. And also on Friday, we're going out to U of A to look at some audiovisual equipment to get some ideas on some of the technologies that's out there. And also some meetings with the Fiber Arts groups, which is the largest group of different groups that get together in that area. And so we got meetings with them. Drainage Area Engineering Services, they're giving us information in drips and drabs. They are in reality on schedule with the information they promised, but it is coming slow. It's a constant reminder to them that they owe me information, to get that information from them. And I'm confident they will. We just got to stay on top of them. The portable floor scrubber is here in use and working very well. We've definitely done some work in the Roadrunner Grill area, working really good. Fitness center equipment is ordered. Don't have an actual any kind of delivery on that yet. It's too early yet. And I think the rest is Mike's.
Okay, golf-related items. I don't have any update on the lease. I know you guys are sick of hearing that. I'm sick of saying that. We're still waiting for those 3 fairway mowers. We're still working on the course improvements. That was a project that we did the in-play areas last year on Tucson. If you've been out on Tucson the last month or two, you've seen Mike's team working hard on the nursery. All the irrigation changes have been completed. Right now they're working on drainage, and then they'll move on to starting to install the root zone material, and then the grassing will depend on weather. That's Bermuda grass, we need it to warm up. But that's moving along as scheduled. And then John touched on the golf shop refresh. We've had some internal meetings. We're setting up meetings with the various contractors, getting those contracts signed. And we are ordering as much of the materials or items now as we can. We'd either get them here and store them than to have any kind of supply chain issues. So we're starting that process right away to make sure we get everything here so we're ready to go for August.
And in terms of completed projects, as Lisa said, we did, in fact, put that 3-door cooler in the back of the Agave Lounge at a cost of $6,290. We do expect the useful life to be about 10 years for that project. So that's the only thing that was completely finished in January. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Phillips, where's Mike Phillips? He's coming up. Okay, Mike Phillips, and he's going to talk about sprinkler drives.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to start off talking to you today about replacement of existing sprinkler drives out on the golf course. So why do we need to be replacing the internal sprinkler drives? So we got some of the drives that are out there are over 10 years old, which is beyond the useful life of a sprinkler head in southern Arizona. You know, and as these heads age, they provide inconsistent and inefficient operation, which then leads to inconsistent turf conditions, overwatering, underwatering, increased man hours as far as for maintenance and supplemental hand watering. And, you know, during the irrigation renovation in 2015 and 17, we reused a lot of the internal sprinkler drives because they still had useful life left in them. And then obviously all the sprinkler drives are not going to fail all at once. So but we do need the replacement drives on hand for when they do fail, that we can get them replaced, so that we're not losing turf out there when we're facing 100-degree temps out there during the summertime. So the new heads, you know, they're going to provide reliable, consistent application of water. You know, it's really difficult to quantify, but you know, they will lead to reduction in water usage and man hours over the life of the sprinkler heads. So the drives and the internals that we will be replacing, they're 1-inch valve and head. They're part and full circle. So when I say the internal part, it's that little piece that's the part that's sticking up with the nozzle there. So it's not that whole can. It's just that internal piece that's sticking up. And these basically water various parts of the golf course. You know, greens, tees, fairways, and rough. So in 2015, the decision was made to go with Toro for the irrigation renovation. This allowed us to reuse a lot of the drives that were purchased during the regrassing projects in 10, 11, and 12. So we need to stick with Toro, you know, in order to utilize the components that we have out there and to stay consistent with what we installed during the irrigation renovation. So this will be the 5th year that we've want to make this purchase for replacement internal drives. So obviously the cost continues to rise every year. Not as quite a big a jump the last couple years as, you know, 21, 22. We're still kind of in that the COVID years there, where we're seeing a pretty good price increase in goods. So you can see the price increase there. You know, kind of the total amount of heads that we've been able to purchase each year. So obviously that number's gone down a little bit over the years, but still feeling pretty comfortable with where we're at. So you can always, and you can tell we're always purchasing more part circle heads than full circle heads, as we have a lot more part circle heads out there on the golf course than we do full circle. There's also a lot more parts that tend to go wrong with a part circle head, as you know, they can, you know, swing 180, 270, 90 degrees, various you know, degrees of arc. So there's just more parts in them that can tend to fail, you know, whereas a full circle head, just all it has to just do is a 360 turn. So cost versus budget, the cost to purchase both part and full circle sprinkler drives for this project. So we got a quote for $14,945.53. That's including tax and delivery. This also includes a 3-year warranty on each drive that's purchased, and it utilizes our national account with Toro to get the pricing that we get. And then there's $15,000 that is included in the 2025 replacement reserve fund for this project.
We have a motion, please. Okay, discussion by the board. How many sprinkler heads are there in total out there, Mike?
Yeah, so I think I was asked this question last year, and I was actually a little bit low on my number. I think I gave you guys the number of stations. We actually have 4,119 sprinkler heads out there. Kind of give you a breakdown, so full circle sprinklers, there's 1,322, and then part circle sprinkler heads, there's 2,797.
He's not really certified.
Amazing.
Yeah, they water 144 acres of turf.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the audience? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Done.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, so now we're going to move on and talk about bunker sand replacement. So this will be the third year that we're purchasing sand to replace our existing bunker sand. So out on each 9, we did over a 3-year period. So in 2018, we replaced all the sand in the Saddlebrook Golf Course bunkers. 2019 it was the Catalina course, and then 2020 was the Tucson course, and all that was done in-house by the golf maintenance staff during those years. And the decision was made at that time to go with the 50-50 blend of a white California sand with a brown Arizona sand. And then the bunker sand has a useful life of 5 to 7 years in southern Arizona. And then, between grass clippings, rain events, wind events, the sand becomes contaminated. It does not drain as well. All the sand in the bunkers is not going to be all underperforming at one time. But we don't want to wait until they're all really bad and all really underperforming to start replacing this sand. This allows the maintenance staff, to address the most underperforming bunkers first, kind of as we progress through this project. So maintenance staff, we've already started. We started a couple years ago on Saddlebrook. We started last year on Catalina by addressing the most underperforming bunkers first. We've been removing the sand manually so that we're not damaging the bunker liner. That was also installed during 2018, 19, and 20 by the golf course maintenance staff. And then once we get the sand pulled out, this also allows the maintenance staff to inspect the liner and the drainage that's underneath there, and to make any necessary repairs at that time that need to be addressed. Then the sand we've been removing from the bunkers, we've started to use that sand to top dress areas of the rough to start to improve some of the rough areas around the golf courses as well. So this has kind of been our progress over the last couple years. So we started in 2023 on Saddlebrook. We're able to get around 4,600 square feet of bunker sand replaced that year, and that we were able to get 6 bunkers that year. 2024, just around 4,100 square feet. We only did 4 bunkers. We started to get into a few of the bigger sized bunkers that year. That's why you kind of see that number decrease as far as the amount of bunkers completed. And then we were able to get 5 bunkers on the Catalina golf course last year as well, for around 4,100 square feet as well. Then as far as pricing goes, we started off, 2023, we were at 132. We went up last year to 147, And surprisingly, the price actually is being held the same this year. It's the same price as last year, which is going to help us out. So we're estimating around 300 tons of sand being purchased this year, since we have all 3 golf courses being included this year with this project. So we'll start to replace sand on the Tucson golf course this summer as well. There's $45,000 in the 2025 replacement reserve fund for bunker sand replacement this year.
Okay, can I have a motion, please? Okay, discussion by board, questions? Which ones do you plan on redoing first, Mike?
Which
Bunkers.
Which golf course? No,
Which is the worst performing right now?
So we've been trying to mainly go after the greenside bunkers. That tends to be more where, a little more precise shots got to be hit out of those. Those also tend to get a little bit more water throughout the year than some of the other kind of bunkers that are along the fairway as well. So that's kind of what we've been concentrating on so far.
Well, we saved a lot of money by not by eliminating the bunker on Tucson 3 as well, right?
Yes, we did. we still had to remove that, though.
I didn't say it was easy. I just said it's going to be cheaper.
Yeah, exactly.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the residents? Discussions? Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Okay. Thank you, Mike.
All right. Thank you. Good job.
John LaBar, Properties and Roads, to talk about some crack seal work that we're scheduling for 2025.
Transition agreement with Robeson back in 1999, we were required to seal coat roads every 5 years. It said no information or no requirement to crack seal the roads. You need to crack seal the roads before you seal coat them. Otherwise, you got a big problem. Our crack seal work is done in, it says cold weather. It's above 35 degrees. We need to have to be efficient. The seal coat work requires a warmer temperature, normally between 50 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. You can get, in the summertime, you can get pretty warm putting seal coat down. It takes a lot longer to cure, and that causes a problem with traffic. If traffic gets on it, tracks it all over the place. The transition agreement agreed that we would do seal coating every 5 years. Okay, what's next? This year, since 2002, we've been doing the maintenance of the roads with crack seal and seal coating, and this year we're doing Saddlebrook Boulevard East. It's from the actually Ridgeview Boulevard. Well, actually, that part's done up to the tennis road there, where you go in the tennis area. So in the tennis area, all the way around the clubhouse, dock area, and the road into the clubhouse will be crack sealed. If there are any cracks there, I'm not sure. Unit 11, Acacia Hills Drive, Bobcat Canyon Road, which is the maintenance, the road down to the maintenance shops, and the golf carts maintenance yard is scheduled for crack sealing. So we've gone out to bids on that. Let's see. We sent 3 qualified vendors. Sunland Alliance I'm not familiar with. I didn't consider them I don't even know where they're from. With Bates Asphalt, and Sunland have been the two companies we've used in the past. And move to approve the crack seal work. I think there's 39,000 square yards of pavement area, but that's not how many cracks there are. At a cost of $20,280 from the reserve fund. Any questions?
Can I have a motion from?
So moved.
Second? Discussion by the board? Questions?
John, I've got a question over here. So if I look at Sunland, 640 gallons for $20,280, and if I look at Bates for 880 gallons, it's double the price. Any conclusions you can draw from that?
Yeah, that one bid, the low bid, 470 gallons or something, that was way below what we estimate. We estimate more like 600 gallons. And so 880 is maybe too much, so I don't need that much.
Historically, Bates has always come in on the high end on crack seal. Can't tell you why, but they always do. They're always the top vendor when we do go out for bid on crack seal. They're very competitive on resurfacing and seal coating, just really high on the crack seal side.
So can I just ask a question? Basically, you tell them how many square feet you want to crack seal, and they tell us how much, according to them, gallons of stuff they will need to do that?
We do not tell them the quantity of crack seal to do. We give them the areas of the units or
Right.
areas. They have to go out and look at it, and they determine what amount of crack seal work they need to do.
Okay, got it.
Any other questions? Questions, comments from the residents? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, nay. Thank you, Mr. Labar.
Thanks, John.
Good afternoon. I'm very excited about this project, as you can tell. I'm here. I want to set the expectation. We hope to get approval today to do a very innovative trial that we think will beautify the community. Oh, it went off. There you go. It was on. Okay. All right.
There you go.
Better?
Yep.
Okay. So the primary goals are to enhance the beauty of the community and boost our values. Can you click that for me? So it's numerous research papers have indicated that almost every community's property values go up with beautification. And I gave you some in your paperwork. There's hundreds on the website that cite specific examples and what they accomplished. Keeps the community up to date, very attractive. One of the things we find is a lot of our artists look at a place for their retirement, and some of them haven't been able to practice their retirement since they were kids. We have a very effective artist community that actually holds training for new painters, new artisans. We attract a ton of people. You're going to see it's a number that I was unfamiliar with. We also think this is a demonstration of the talent within our community, which will attract more talented people. The Creative Arts and Wellness Project, which we've been talking about, was a revelation. We can't be absolute, but there are somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,200 artistic people participating in artist behaviors in this community. Significant number, I think. Just to name a few, they have photography, pottery, jewelry, lapidary, glass, fine arts, fiber arts. They got 15 clubs, I think somebody told me. Woodworking, goes on and on. Most communities have turned to artistic display to enhance their communities. I travel, I hit 20 cities a year. I don't remember one that was not participating in community art, not one. Just to name some close, Tucson, over 100 murals. Phoenix requires an artistic display, Pinal County, for every commercial project. I think I heard the other day that there are something like 180 in Oro Valley alone. Sioux Falls, Phoenix has 200 major public art, not private, public. Sioux Falls has an annual contest. 80 artists provide sculptures and art for the streets. We go every year just to participate in the contest. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Philadelphia has 4,300 murals. Cities like Tokyo, New York, Chicago, Miami, Los Angeles, Denver, San Francisco, Boise, all these cities have programs. And last, it's important for us to kind of get beyond our personal perceptions and look at what we need to meet an objective. And we think our objective is to attract the most people from all walks of life to our community and present a wow factor. And that's what I think Delise Nast and her team has done. Delise?
So just to go through a little bit of the creative the process that we went through here, Mario Cuilho, I always get his name wrong. He's a friend of mine, actually, and so he engaged me to say, well, can you bring together a bunch of the artists in this community? Because I'm a member of a lot of the clubs that we talked about, the photography group. The key clubs we saw in this group were the photography group, the pottery group, the fine arts guild, the fiber arts group, the woodworking group, jewelry and lapidary, glass and paper crafters. So he came to me and said, could you pull these people together? Let's talk about, could we beautify Ridgeview Boulevard? That's where we're starting out here. And so pulled together quite a group from each one of those areas and thought about other areas as well, because we really want to have participation in this. And this large group in our first meeting, there was a lot of input, and it was really decided that the Art Guild was probably the best to sort of lead this whole process. And I'm on the board of the Art Guild. So we kind of moved forward with that. We went to both the Photography Club and the Fine Arts Club, then asked their memberships, and between those two clubs, there's over 300 members, to submit something along the lines of a Southwest theme. And so with that, we received, I want to say over 20 beautiful images, really amazing images from both the Fine Arts Guild and the Photography Club that really kind of fit nicely into this. We then had a criteria where we said, we're going to critique this and decide what is going to be the most sensitive images that we might be able to utilize in a mural that's going to do the most for the most people. And so, you know, just our creative process is actually a lengthy one with a whole checklist of things that we go through. There's certainly value in color and composition and all those things, but then above and beyond that, how does this impact our community? Who is our audience and so forth? So these are just some of the examples of some of those beautiful images. So some of the artwork. More artwork. And one photograph there. So as we start to look at these and critique them, we actually say, well, what's going to be good? You know, thinking that you're driving by these areas along Ridgeview where these walls are right now, very, very blank. There's no landscaping associated with them and so forth. And what will work and what won't work. I mean, certainly as we try to incorporate a lot of these different creative groups, we realize that some might not work out. We want to really have this to be kind of an all-inclusive sort of an experience where you're actually part of the artwork. As you're driving by, the landscaping supports the artwork. The background behind it, you know, so as you're looking over it, supports the artwork. And it just fits within that area. So as we look at that, we take some of these images out. We take some of these groups out as well. So like, for example, fiber arts is something that's probably going to not really live well in this environment here. It's a fiber, it's going to break down and so forth. And so that, you know, we want to try to incorporate them wherever we can, but it may not make sense. Glass is actually a great medium for this. It does last, it can take our sunshine and our heat. But so those were some of the few things that we considered as we were going forward on this. So then we started to do some research. Well, what's the best medium for working on the walls in this project? What's going to last the longest? What's going to have the most impact? What's going to actually represent a fine art piece or a photograph? And so as we look, we went to, you know, Eva Langdahl actually did a mural in HOA2 right on one of the electrical boxes, and I had a chance to talk to her because she's actually within the Fine Arts Guild. The mural was done, she donated her time and her design, and the paint roughly cost about $270. This probably is not the best option for us though, thinking about the fact that the length of time that a painted mural, even with the best mural paint, is only going to last for about 5 years and then it's going to start to degrade. The other thing that's problematic with this is that you might have 70 or 80 years old out there painting on a rough surface in not so great climate, and that's just not very favorable. Then, of course, are they around? Are they available in 5 years as it starts to degrade to actually update their artwork? So those are just some of the things that said, this is probably not the best route to go. So then Teresa Palucci and myself actually started to get bids on printing on ACM, which is aluminum composite material, with a UV coating. And there are several local companies and national companies that do this. And it's kind of a nice way to go. It gives us the ability to do photographs, which of course if you're painting a mural, you now have cut out the photographic group and you're really just painting. This one actually, they could be painting in their studio or doing a photograph, and it's actually printed on this aluminum substrate. We actually have to do, in all of these cases, the installation on it, and this costs roughly, for the two images that we actually started to look at in size, about $1,600, between $750 and $1,600. And so, but there's a problem with this as well. It's about a 5-year life expectancy, and it starts to degrade. So really the option, and one of the photographers came up to me and said, well, do you know that you can print on tile? And you got a couple samples there in front of you, and there's also a sample behind me, and I encourage everyone to take a look at that. It's taking a photograph, so it can be a photograph of a fine arts piece, or it could be a photograph from a photographer, and it's printing it on tile. This is very different than paint. Paint sits on top, ink sits on top. This is a dye sublimation process. It's going into a porous material, which is the tile, and it's a dye, so that actually sinks into the tile. They then bake it, and it has protective coating put on top. This can last indefinitely. The nice thing about this is the biggest tile, this 12-inch square tile that's straight across from me, that's just a really nice size to support this kind of discussion about doing a mural on a wall that can be about 4 or 5 feet tall and as wide as we want it to be based on the image that we're working with. So this to me is really the clear choice. It's gonna last forever, although it's not forever if for some reason it needed to change its tile. You can chip it down and take it off and do something else. So while we hope it lasts forever, the reality is it's something that you can work with. So the two images that we chose, and we put a lot of thought to this, and we put a lot of thought to where these images would be placed along Ridgeview, taking into account the backgrounds around them, taking into account the visibility of them. The art one in the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to switch back and forth here so you can see. This is what it looks like on one particular area on Ridgeview. Now you notice you're not seeing a lot of homes behind us. There's also a lot of space in front of this piece, so we can create this experience where it's coming toward you, the landscape supports it, the background supports it. And so there's a map off to the right here. In that lower corner of Ridgeview is actually where we're proposing to do this piece. And right now, this is what it looks like. So there's no landscaping there. There's really nothing to disturb. It's also far enough away from the road that it gives you some opportunity to do some really nice landscaping. And so I'm going to back up here a bit. Go to the second image. That's a photograph. Now, that's a horizontal photograph, so it's about the same height, but it's going to be a lot wider. And here again, this one is higher up, and so you don't actually see, there's a house behind that. This one is on the corner of Spoon and Ridgeview. And so the landscaping, we actually chose this photograph because it's well lit. It has a road that's kind of moving from the front into the picture, the image. We can then kind of take a play off of that and actually bring sort of like a wash away from that toward you to the road. So it really looks inviting. It's all kind of fits together well. All of the grasses and everything work with this image. So that's the area that this one goes into. Yeah, and when you look at the map, that's the upper green area, which is further up Ridgeview. There isn't a lot going on the road here, so it's kind of a nice thing to bring to this area, a little bit more creative, and some landscaping is actually kind of important to support that. So now the costs associated with this. We also had to look at the landscaping costs. We do have to do all the installation on this. So these first two images, the vertical one, which is a fine art piece, and the cost for that one's going to be around $1,280. The horizontal image, the photograph, is going to be around $1,600. This doesn't include the shipping. It's tile. It's going to be shipped to us. The nice thing about the tile too is when you have a chance to look at the tiles behind me, each one is numbered. So at any point in time, if a tile is damaged, you can reprint just that tile. So it's a really nice way to go. And then, of course, with the landscaping, we went through and estimated how much foliage we'd need, how much rock we'd need, some of which we have here available already, some of which we'd have to go out and buy. So we got the costs associated with that. And questions?
I move to approve the installation of 2 murals and landscape in common area walls only at a cost of $47.85, which includes a 10% contingency to cover shipping costs of the tiles. Funds to come from the operating fund in accordance with the Saddlebrook 1 procurement policy.
Second. Questions, comments from the board?
Delise, I have a question. I think I'm a little confused. Can you go back to the location?
Yeah.
I guess I thought they were kind of in a reverse thing. This is where, what's going here?
So this is where the bighorn sheep would go.
Okay. Could you go?
That faces the east.
Okay. And I can see where the mountains are in the background.
Yep.
Could you go to the other location and?
That's the corner of Spoon and Ridgeview Boulevard.
I don't see the mountains there.
No, there's no mountain on that one. Here's what it looks like. This is actually on the other side of Ridgeview, so it's facing the opposite way. Yes. Yes, it's right on the corner.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's got a nice amount of space in front of it, and it's also higher up.
For some reason, I thought that the bigger mural was where the other smaller one was, because there was the mountain.
Right.
You could see the mountains in the background.
Yeah, right.
And it had a pathway leading from the mountains right to the mural.
We've always kind of intended it to be in this spot. This one is a little bit, doesn't have quite the foreground in it. It's a little lower, closer to the road. And so because there's mountains in this one as well, we thought it would kind of really tie into that situation with the background there. So, and this one has no houses behind it, although you really can't see the houses on the other one either. So, I mean, and we were trying to spread this out a little bit and make sure that we're looking at this road and saying, there's nothing here. This is a blank canvas. Mm-hmm. And so this one is, the first one is you're coming down that bottom side, and then the other one is quite a ways up. So we're always kind of looking at it. And then the other one, I'll back up to that. If you're heading to the left of this, there's actually a lot more. So if down the road, we're hoping this is a multi-year project. We'd like this to be like, at some point, set a budget for this, do 3 or 4 each year. And on this case, if it's a photograph here, we might be able to do something where we're tying into that photograph as you move to the left. And the same thing with this one. Off to the right of this one, there's a lot of blank space. So might be that we do some artwork that supports this particular piece. Maybe it's just the style of the artwork, or maybe it's the mountains with some other type of animal and so forth. So that's future thinking.
Okay, thank you. I don't know, for some reason, I just thought that this location, I understand what you're saying, lend itself more towards the actual mountains in the background leading to...
Certainly the mountains, without a doubt. But there isn't as much foreground in this one. So to actually build that kind of roadway or the wash is not as doable on this site.
Right.
This is quite a bit shorter. The perspective here is a little fooling. The other one has a lot more space. It's a good probably 10, 15 feet further back. So it just lends itself to that road idea. And we didn't want it to look like a road because they were worried somebody might try to drive up it or something. So we want to make sure that it's clearly a wash, but it ties into it. So,
okay.
But that's the thought process.
Thank you.
Who's going to do the actual installation of the tiles on the walls?
We have a gentleman in
the common areas.
Cam guys?
Patrick and...
So facility, you're going to actually...
I forgot the young man's name that actually did
Manny?
the Lizzie. Same person that did Lizzie.
Was that Manny?
Manny.
How are they going to be attached to the wall?
It's just like a traditional tile installation. There are some things that he'll do that will, water will not be as prominent as is in like a home installation inside.
If you were to take it down, would you damage the wall?
He has to prep the wall. I mean, I'm not knowledgeable when it comes to the tile actual installation.
He'll take the existing stuff over the wall, smooth it, put it on, probably slightly recessed in most locations, and when it comes off, you just restuck it.
So would you'd have to re-stucco the wall and repaint it, right, if you had to put it back? If you took it down?
If you took it off, yes, you'd have to restucco the wall.
Okay.
Yes.
The other question I had is, these images, are they paintings?
This one is a painting.
The sheep is a painting?
Yeah.
And the other is a photograph?
That's a photograph.
Are there any copyright limitations on use?
All of these have to be donated. Oh, I'm sorry. These artists have all agreed. Here we go. The artists have all agreed to donate their work. And so there's no copyright issues on this. You had seen one of the photographs of a Native American girl. We've got a model release from her if we wanted to go that direction. So we've made sure that we'll actually, before we go forward with this, the artist will have to sign something that says that they're releasing that. I mean, it's for legal purposes.
Another problem I have with this is that it's inconsistent with what we have now. We've gone through some pretty nice installations, and all of a sudden now we're putting up colored tile on the walls. So I'm a little concerned on how the community is going to receive this.
Yeah, and I totally appreciate that. This actually, though, when you look at the installations so far, they're not consistent. You have one set that are a copper cutout. You have Lizzie, that's a totally different installation. And so you've got a couple other things, the mountain type scapes that are done in rock. So, we had even looked at that. Well, do we want to have the exact same type of image all over the place? And when you look at the murals in a city corporation or city situations on the streets, there's a lot of variety. And what we're really trying to do here is get our residents and our creative people involved. And they're very, very excited about this. So this is a different type of installation than what's already in there, but you're not consistent right now with what's going on either. So, I mean, there's already 3 or 4 different things that are going on. So this is a much higher end kind of than that, where you've really got some beautiful imagery. It supports the arts, and it really gets us all involved. I mean, and down the road here, I'd love to see this be like a sponsorship or people that can't, there's a lot of people at the Creative Wellness Center meeting. There's a guy that got up and said, boy, I know nothing about arts, but I really support this whole project. And there are a lot of people that are artists in here, but there's also a lot of people that will support the arts. So, you know, we certainly want to be incredibly sensitive about having imagery that's not going to offend anyone. And so the team that I've been working with, the leaders of the photography group and the Fine Arts Guild, the president of the Fine Arts Guild is a part of this team, we're really thinking through each and every single image we look at. And even while they may be beautiful, they may not be appropriate. There was that one image with a cowgirl, I can go back to it, where it's a really sweet image, but she's holding a gun. So will somebody object to that? Sure. And so we want to really think through that. And that's what we're doing as a creative team. And we're all, I mean, I use a graphic designer for a living and a creative director, and I actually used to do billboards and things in large scale. So you want to look at the visibility, you want to look at the impact on the community. It's very, very important.
There's a concern.
Go ahead. I really believe very strongly that this is a wow factor. You know, you like to differentiate yourself.
Would you speak into it a little bit closer? Thank you.
Oh, my thing keeps dying.
It's on. It was on.
It was on.
Now it's off. Now it's on.
Now it's on.
Okay, better?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
It's the wow factor that will differentiate us. And I know that we're not going to have gaudy.
Yeah.
There it goes off again. Is that on? Okay, now it's on again.
Just speak into it.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm new at this. But I've had several conversations with people, and I don't think we've stepped so far out of the box. We don't look gaudy. We don't look at carnival. We have very, very professional artists in our community producing this, and it's a showcase. I can't tell you enough how much the first ones that she came up with, I liked even better. So we have a whole possible future, or we have none. If people don't appreciate it, then we'll move away. But if they do, we have more that we can do for the community, and I think that'll really pop us in relationship to other communities. We constantly talk about home values. This is the kind of thing that'll drive a home value.
Well, one of the concerns I have is that if we allow this, then people are going to say, well, why can't I put something up on my pony wall at my house that looks similar to this? And I'd like Mike to comment on that.
Thanks, Son. So if you decide to do this in your home, you'd have to come to the ALC, and we'd consider each project individually, given the fact that it should match our landscape, it should address property values, but each individual homeowner, if they choose to do this at home, would have to come to the ALC for approval. Mm-hmm. And simply because the board is doing this for common areas, that doesn't necessarily mean it would be permitted in a home.
Correct.
Okay? Thanks.
I have just a couple comments. First of all, I agree with Len, maybe because of my background, I'm an attorney. I would want to see a release from the artists. I think that's very, very important. And number two, I think I heard Tim say that if we do approve a project, that doesn't, it's not a commitment to do more. We want to step back and get the response from the community.
Right.
And there's, you have, projects like these are better if they're less is more type thing, that so I would want to go very slow with this type of project. Mm-hmm. But I do think, I do appreciate the fact that we have all these artists. It was just I kind of knew that, but I didn't, and it really is nice. You know, there's a powerhouse of artistic talent in Saddlebrook, and I think this would be a great opportunity for it to be expressed and shown, because I do think it would be like a breath of new air, a wow factor. I think it has the potential to do that, so I find it exciting what you've done, and I want to thank you.
Worst case situation would be that we proceed with this and the residents go, oh, I don't like that at all. And then we would just take the tiles off the wall, replaster and paint, and we're back to where we were. I mean, that's the worst case scenario. And we're talking about, what, $4,500, so.
Right.
Yeah, I'd point out too that if it's well received by the residents, Delise has already got a program in the back of her pocket to have it funded by local sponsors, people in the community that would like to see it. And that would certainly be a tell to us if it was being accepted or not.
Yeah, my thought was, I've actually done a marketing plan to move forward if this is all, if people like it, if it's approved, and as we do the installation, we get good reception. Then I've got a whole marketing plan for how we have a team together that can look at this going forward. What are the installations, asking for the artwork. And now, you know, as we did this, we learned a lot about what to ask for and how to ask for it. And so we can build on that. I always want to look at how we can incorporate as many of the art groups in here as possible. It's very exciting as an artist to have something like this to view and see and share with your other artistic people. And it's really actually one of the reasons why I moved to Saddlebrook, is as I was introduced by a cousin, and she basically said, look, we've got this and this and this, and I know you're really into that. And I moved here because of that. So, and my husband supports me, so, you know, he likes the arts, and it's been my life. I do this for a living. I've done as a graphic designer, creative director, and marketing director. And so it's my life. It's my passion from the get-go. And I do a lot of training. I do the art sampler. I'm a teacher within that. And basically, these are people who maybe were really good in high school, then life gets in the way, they don't do any art, and now they're retired, and you know what? They want to get back into it, and they don't even know where to start. So each one of us instructors takes a different medium, and we talk to them about that. It's extremely exciting for people, and they can kind of get their fingers dirty and decide which is going to be a good fit for them. So, and then they become members of these clubs, and when you look at the numbers, this is only a fraction of the people. The people that are in the clubs are just a small portion of the people that are creative in this community. So if you see there's 200 fine artists in our guild, there's way more fine artists out here, so.
Delise, I have one more question. It's all about location.
Yeah.
Was there any place on Saddlebrook Boulevard on the entry to the four-way stop? I'm just thinking of people who are coming in here to possibly buy a house or whatever. It seems like that would be an appropriate place to put something like this to signal that this is.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's the next one that we were considering looking at. Originally, the scope of the project was Ridgeview Boulevard, but Saddlebrook Boulevard is, I think, where we would take the next route if everything goes, you know, good and we're well received. And then HOA2 has already done one small mural on electrical box that was pretty, you know, the box was pretty ugly to begin with.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It's still ugly.
Well, yeah, got to remove your personal tastes when it comes to art. You know, and yes, you really do. I mean, I used to do a lot of branding for big corporations, and I'd have to tell CEOs of these Fortune 500 companies, put your personal tastes on the back burner for a moment and think about the bigger picture here, the scope of the people are going to be viewing and so forth. But yeah, so there's certainly other areas within Saddlebrook that would be very appropriate for our work, and there's quite a few spaces around Saddlebrook Boulevard, like right in front of the Minute Mart there. There's a nice place there. And then as you get up the road, you're into Saddlebrook too. And so we'd have to actually go to them and make sure that that's okay as well. I'm thinking.
If this is an accepted project and the residents get behind it, there's the lease has got a dozen locations that would have interesting concepts with different media. They don't all have to be pictures on porcelain tiles, and some very unique things for Four Corners that they've already taken a look at. So
Yeah.
I think the scope of this could get extremely large or very narrow. Depends on what you want.
I actually talked to the Pottery Group and the Glass Group about the Four Corners area, because Mario had also, he'd been on the roads, Property and Roads Committee, and he had said, well, we want to look at this Four Corners and then over a little bit further down the road. What can we do? We're at the point where we need to do some of the re-landscaping. Could we incorporate art there? So I started to talk to the Pottery Group and say, as that wall goes around, what could we do there? And gave them some suggestions to get their creative juices flowing and see what we could do. But then a glass club as well, because that's kind of a really nice corner. You stop there, you've got a lot of light coming in from both vehicles, but also the lighting in the area. And so glass is a really beautiful medium for attracting light and reflecting it. And so that group actually came to them and said, well, we want some concepts in that area as well. And so, we'd be looking for that in the very near future.
I do tend to agree with Joanne, though. Sometimes less is more. It makes a bigger impact. If you're looking for a wow factor, it kind of decreases the wow factor if you have too much going on.
We don't want it cluttered or busy or, we don't want it to be caricaturistic like that. I like the cowgirl a lot. I think she's a great artist, Rose Collins. Probably wouldn't go that direction because that, it's an illustration and not everybody would like that. We moved more toward artwork that was a little bit more realistic, but the Bighorn Sheeps are done with a palette knife, so they're artistic, not realistic. And so it's a whole part of our thought process in this. It's a lot of fun to go through this, and it's an exercise, believe me.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Any resident comments, questions?
I just was wondering about the cost of the landscaping. This was just the cost of the tiles, but that one area had a lot of landscaping involved too. And who would do that?
It was built into that.
Oh, the landscaping was built into?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, board members. Harry Ford.
Please state your name and unit number if you would too, please. Sorry. I knew you would, but she forgot.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
Good afternoon, board members. Harry Ford, Unit 21, Lot 2. Well, this would be a worthwhile project, like Lizzie the Lizard, or much more impactful projects in the preserve. I think you have the cart before the horse. If you look at high-quality art projects in the town of Oro Valley, first you design the project, and then you put in the art component. After 26 years, Saddlebrook One has no facilities master plan or common area master plan with standards of care or an art component. No priorities. I could not find this project in the 2025 budget. The proposal said charge the operating fund. Very clear, looks like a fixed asset that's with a 5-year life. Which department is going to be responsible to maintain it? Who's going to install it? What are the installation costs? Why isn't it a higher priority for the Creative Arts Center? I went to the town hall. I didn't see any landscape or art plan as part of the project. In my opinion, a lot more work needs to be done on the Carmen area since our property values are down $55 million over the last 2 years. I think this project is just going to stand out too much. It's not going to blend in like the Saguaro statues over in the Preserve Clubhouse. In my opinion, the board should table this item and bring it back as part of the Common Area Master Plan with an art component after 26 years. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Okay, time to vote.
I'd like to propose an amendment, please.
Okay.
At the, would you put the motion up on?
I don't know how.
My first inclination in this is to vote no because it's just so different from what we're used to here. But I'd like to propose an amendment. Okay. All right, at the end of the first sentence, at where it says the cost of the tiles, a new sentence to be added to say the installation to be temporary for a demonstration period of 6 months, after which the board shall vote on a more permanent installation. That's my amendment.
Could you repeat that again, please?
Yeah, the installation to be temporary for a demonstration period of 6 months, after which the board shall vote on a permanent installation. Well, you have said that you can take it off. No, to put it up so that everybody can see it and react to it. Because to be honest, I'm not an artist, so I have no idea what this is going to look like and what it's so different from what everybody else is used to around here. I, as a board member, cannot just vote for it and put it up. So I think I'm willing to say it's as a demonstration project to see how the community accepts or doesn't accept it. And it'll be an expense, but because there's such an interest of the artistic community in it, I'd like to see what the reaction is by the community. And, otherwise I have to vote no on it, so.
I think that's reasonable. We don't have a problem with that. We have confidence in it.
So we're voting, what we'll be voting on is to approve the
You vote on the amendment, vote on the amendment first, and then vote on the motion.
There's an amendment.
I understand, but I want to understand what your amendment is.
Yeah.
So what the amendment would do would be to have them proceed, put it up, and then 6 months later, we would decide if it stays up or goes down.
Yes.
Okay.
You're saying get feedback then from the community and then vote on it again to.
That's what I believe he's saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd just be, in other words, it's a temporary installation because you've said it can be temporary. It'll be an expense to put it up, it'll be an expense to take it down. I think I'm willing to go along with that, otherwise I'm going to vote no, and I don't want to vote no.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that much about art and how much this is going to look in the community, so.
I second Lynn's motion.
Perfect.
To amend the motion. I second that.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
So motion carries as amended.
Thank you.
Motion carries as amended.
No, I don't think so. I think it's okay.
It amended. The whole motion
Whole
carries.
motion carries. There you go.
The motion, the motion is amended, carries.
Right.
Clearly, I'm an artist, not a.
Thank you very much. We appreciate
Yeah,
your
thank you. I do appreciate it, and all the feedback as well.
Thank you for all your work putting this together.
Yes.
Yep.
Both pieces.
Oh, yes.
We're in for a dive, we're in for a
Yes.
dive.
Because we can find out what people
Yeah.
like. Do they like
Right.
the colorful one or do they like the bland one?
All right, now it's time for resident comments. If you have any, please step to the microphone, state your name and unit.
Because she basically said resident comment, we have 6 months to clear you.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Test.
Good afternoon again. Board members, Harry Ford, Unit 21, Lot 2. In 2003, Beach Fleshman issued a management letter regarding the continued food and beverage losses with 3 recommendations. Hire an outside restaurant consultant, outsource the restaurant operations, or lease the space to a local restaurant. The losses continued for 19 more years until 2022, when the operating loss was $211,000. Saddlebrook One has spent millions over the years, and in 2023 spent $1.6 million on the Roadrunner Grill. The food and beverage loss for 2024 is up 200% to $644,000. At the same time, overhead was increasing astronomically. I provided the calculations and justification back in early 2023 to allocate overhead, like most food and beverage operations do. When I recalculated the numbers for 2024, the cost was $967 per home to have a restaurant to go to, and for golf, $806 for a golf amenity, even for non-golfers, of which I am now one, and no breakdown of future reserve liability and no competitive operation. I sent in some information from Club Benchmarking, and as you can see, Saddlebrook One is at the bottom of the list, especially after allocating overhead. When is Saddlebrook One going to provide clear and transparent governance and a business plan to address these increasing losses with competitive information? Any questions?
No questions. Thank you, Mr. Ford. Any other questions or comments from the audience, residents? Meeting adjourned.